Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, the Wickoff Organization, Customers Bank, Ariel Property Advisors, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Perfect Building Maintenance, Genova Burns. Additional funding has been provided by AKA Hotels, Corman Communities, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, AVR Realty Company, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Bank Leumi USA, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Citizens Bank, Cohen Equities, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Connect One Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties, Handler Real Estate Organization, HAP Investments, Hodges Ward Elliott Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Madison Realty Capital, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Polsonelli, Rosewood Realty Services, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Knackle Group at Cushman and Wakefield, Maring Goff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Group, and these friends.
It's Queens. It's hip. It's hot. It's a place that everyone wants to be. Has great transportation. So today I've assembled this group of business leaders to talk about what's happening in Queens. My guests, they include a man who's spent close to 30 years. You've been in Queens?
More, 37.
37 years in Queens. The CEO of Silvercup Studios and a principal at Silvercup Properties, Alan Suna. A person who's been spending more time in Queens, Todd Bassen, who is a managing partner and the chief investment officer at Metropolitan Realty Associates. Daniel Wechsler, who is director of investment sales for Ariel Property Advisors, also heavily in Queens. And last but not least, a man who's made a number of investments recently and lent in Queens, Josh Zegen, who is the co-founder and managing partner at Madison Realty Capital. So when we used to talk going back 16 seasons, because you've been with me ever since the first season, about Queens, it wasn't hip, it wasn't hot. What's changed? What's made Queens so much better, as people would say, that people, as Daniel was saying prior, people are running to invest in Queens?
Well, in fairness, it has to do, we have a wonderful city that's growing, and you have compression that comes out of Manhattan, both demand for housing and for office space and other commercial space. It pushes out, it pushed out to Brooklyn, it's pushed out to Queens. And Queens also has had an enormous number, I don't know, Western Queens at least, 15, 20,000 new units that have come into the market in the last 5 years. So it's filled with young people. I was with a colleague this morning and we saw a woman with a yoga mat and a backpack. You go around the corner, you see a mom with a little kid in tow and pushing a stroller. It is a completely different world than it was 37 years ago.
So besides the studios, which everybody knows when they go over the bridge, you know, Silvercup Studios, and you have other properties over there in Queens, what are you doing with the residential business in Queens?
Oh, right now we are building, I guess, the tallest condo in Long Island City, right on Court Square, 27-story project called the Harrison. Demand has been so strong that even without model apartments or a real sales office, we're over 60% sold.
And who's buying? That's the big question that people always like.
Right. It is mostly not large families, which is what we thought there would be, some of that, and there is a little bit, but it's people that are buying, ones and twos.
Would you say this is their starter home?
Yes, quite a few. Really, their starter home. And again, they get into these kinds of things at 60% of the cost of being in Manhattan.
Are these people, I mean, from your sales statistics that are they previous residents of Queens? I mean, did they come out of Flushing or other parts?
So, quite a few come out of Flushing that still want to be proximate to their families and where they grew up. Some people come from Woodside, Sunnyside, that are moving up. I mean, the views from this particular building are just knock your socks off, and the way in which the building is set up, I don't think the views will ever be obstructed.
I think one of the big items and opportunities is the lack of condominiums.
Correct.
Especially in Long Island City and other parts of Queens. So there is a need that people want this home ownership, and that's why it's important. So how'd the guy from New Jersey, end up in Queens and predominantly in the industrial side?
Well, when I was at Invesco, we purchased the 5 buildings from the Jehovah's Witnesses, a watchtower, which we renamed Dumbo Heights. And we were attracting TAMI tenants and marketing the property in the mid-50s. And we were getting large users coming out to the property that couldn't pay the mid-50s rents that we were asking, but they could pay in the 30s. So I asked myself, where can I go to buy properties as a relief valve for Brooklyn to accommodate the tenants that can't afford Brooklyn but want to be, that really can't afford the city either, but want to be proximate to New York City? And, the answer was Long Island City. We were successful at buying a 50% interest when I was at Invesco at the factory building, which was the former Macy's Furniture Warehouse next to the Falchi, which was Gimbel's Furniture Warehouse. And the thesis was right, and we were able to attract tenants interested in coming to Long Island City that were able to pay rents in the 30s. What is astounding to me is how rapidly rents had moved from high 20s, low 30s to closer to 40 today.
And what's interesting, because now I'm going to shoot to Josh, is that there were, a lot of these industrial buildings have been converted to office buildings. So one of the biggest problem is you still need industry. You need industrial buildings, and that's one of the things that you're doing now, right?
Yeah, we've been buying industrial for office conversions throughout the Brooklyn waterfront. And one of the things we found, similar to what Todd found, was our tenants, which were pure industrial tenants, had been really priced out by other uses of their properties. So whether it's residential, hotel, office, storage, all these tenants are getting squeezed out. And the last mile has become that much more valuable. So we're buying now a 600,000 square foot property in Jamaica, Queens, just to use as industrial. It's an industrial property for industrial because of these things. And you can't really build industrial. Land is too expensive. So we think it's one area where it's so supply constrained and demand has increased.
What do you see happening in the industrial market in Queens?
Well, as Josh and Todd said, is the shrinking of space. When Long Island City was rezoned, I guess almost 15 years ago, took a little while for that rezoning to take shape after the recession, but it's a shrinking market as far as available land and available space. So the demand, as Todd alluded to, the price, the asking price for office space and industrial space has grown probably 20-30% in the last 2 years.
We hear where Todd is buying. Okay, we know some of the things with Josh. We'll talk more. Where are the investors coming from? Who are you competing with today on who wants to buy these properties? Do we have foreign investors over here? Do we have local investors?
Actually, you do.
What are you seeing in the market?
Across the board, as we were talking about earlier, you can talk just multifamily right now. Traditionally, Queens multifamily was traded amongst Queens owners. But now what we're seeing as far as the appetite for multifamily product, it's Manhattan landlords, it's Brooklyn landlords, people who hadn't paid attention. The price per pound is just, it's at a discount in Queens. It's trading at about 15% less per square foot in 2016 versus Brooklyn. So it's a discount there. And rents, there's a huge amount of rent growth. Josh was talking about, his project in Woodside, and we looked at the 7 line, just the neighborhoods along the 7 line, pushing east, Sunnyside, Woodside, and the discount, even from Sunnyside to Long Island City, which is 5 minutes, is about 25% for rent. So there's great value.
Let's talk about Saxon, which is, a conversion.
So, one of the things we found was we were a lender in Queens to various projects throughout the years. And we made a loan in Rego Park in 2011, which was a condo project which sold for about $600 a foot in 2012. And then we made a loan to redevelop St. John's Hospital. And as we started to look at the market, we saw the rents there become very compelling relative to some other markets. And we thought, properties were relatively cheap. So we bought this 500,000 square foot apartment building, 1960s vintage building in Rego Park, a few blocks from the Alexander, which Vornado had built. And we started to see the kind of, I would say, people, renters that were once in, Brooklyn, looking in Long Island City and Astoria, get priced out of those markets and looking for a huge discount to those markets with great retail and great transportation. So we thought we can buy something and reconfigure the layouts to maximize value well below what it would cost to build. And that's why we bought that.
We know that Long Island City is hot. We know it's for a variety of reasons. It's the residential is there, the office right now with what Tishman-Speyer is building and other matters. One area that I see lacking in certain parts is retail. Retail, especially in Long Island City, is truly, there's no supermarket in Long Island City right now.
Absolutely not true.
Okay, so tell me.
There's at least 2.
Real supermarkets or?
Real supermarket. My son lives in Long Island City. Used to live in Manhattan. And I'm only going to correct my friend Todd here by saying when we refer to the island of Manhattan, we call it Manhattan, not New York City, because it's all 5 boroughs in New York City.
Right.
And so it's a fabulous market. It's called the Food Cellar, and you can go there for lunch. It's just like a Whole Foods.
But how big is it?
Oh, you know what? I didn't go in and measure.
No,
but it's sizable. It's not like walking into.
I think it's about 15,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel small when you're in there at all.
The typical suburban supermarket is 55,000 feet or bigger.
It's not.
The market is lacking large format.
You know what? When you're talking suburban,
but it's different.
There's a different element in suburban versus New York City supermarkets. For example, the traditional Whole Food is about 55,000 square feet. The Whole Foods in Manhattan, with the exception of the Time Warner Center and the other one on 103rd Street, are really in the 25 to 30,000 square foot area. The one on 57th
Well, they're
Street,
big. No, they're bigger. The one in Columbus Circle.
No, with the exception.
Right.
With the exception. So I think what I'm saying to you, Alan, with regard to the 15,000 square feet, you don't have the national chains yet on the Whole Foods over there. I think they're over there. Now, if you take where Josh is talking about in the Regal Park over the area, you have supermarkets, and you also have Aldi, which is a smaller version of a totally branded company. They're all branded by themselves. They're the sister company of Trader Joe's.
Right. We put that in Rego when we redeveloped the former Sears.
Right. But you've seen it when you were over there at Vornado, Queens.
Right.
So you've seen the Queens market, and even though many people feel that the shopping centers aren't doing well, that shopping center continues to do well in the Regal Park area.
Well, Queens is understored. I think that was my point.
No, and I think, if you want to talk about retail, retail doesn't exist solely because residents are there. It needs businesses. And when you called me about joining the show today, you said it's hip, it's hot, it's Queens, and I went to take a quick little look about who's new in Queens, what kind of businesses are moving in there. You have companies like Boyce Technologies, which started with like 7 employees. They're going to be, they started like with 10,000 square feet or something like that, and they're going to grow to 700,000 square feet in Queens, and they're going to have 700 employees or something like that. I mean, big numbers. You've got the creative side of both Macy's and Bloomingdale's. over there. You know,
Well, they're online divisions.
yeah, and you know, you got the big Bloomingdale's presence. It's going to be in Tishman Spires property right on Queens Plaza. You've got you know, a whole variety of.
And you got the studio company who's pretty big.
Well, we just have pretty, you know, good-looking people walking around all the time. You know.
So, I mean, if I had to say, you know, we know certain parts. We were talking about Long Island City's over there. We know that the Regal Park neighborhood over there. Jamaica has a great opportunity because of the lack of industrial. Where else in Queens are people? What do you think is the next opportunity? Always people say to me when they watch the show and they meet me on the street, where is the next opportunity? Where would you say? And I'm trying to limit it to the borough of Queens, okay? Because there are opportunities in other places, right, as we've seen. Where do you think is the opportunity, and what type of opportunities are there in Queens?
Well, I think you know, if you look at like Jackson Heights, it's relatively cheap from a, you know, from a value standpoint because it's a great transportation hub. Woodside, Elmhurst, Sunnyside.
Follow the 7.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the, you know, west side of Manhattan getting developed, it's also, you know, followed the 7 line, and obviously that's going to be a city within a city being built. So,
but it's also if you follow what they've now dubbed, I guess, the W, which used to be the N or the Q or whatever, that goes from, say, Queens Plaza all the way north to Ditmars Boulevard. I have a number of friends that are developing residential properties over there, and you're going to see more and more over there. And it's what's interesting about, you know, that part of Queens, it's a really rich area in terms of Greek culture, other cultures that are there. The restaurants are really, you know, you talk about being under-retailed, but you have restaurants all over the place that are just really fabulous.
You see, I think certain parts of Queens, and also definitely the entire 5 boroughs, are going to be the beneficiary of the new citywide ferry system, because, you know, it's going to be extended. It's going to be in Astoria. It's going to be, you know, in many of these neighborhoods that we were talking about. Anything that's near the water, and it's being subsidized by the city of New York.
Plus, you don't have Cornell Technion developed yet, and that's going to have I believe that's going to have a major impact.
Even though that's in the borough of Manhattan, because Roosevelt Island is considered Manhattan, even though there's a
right, but it's still on the F, and so
those
long
tenants
it's connected.
Right.
I think it'll move. Some of that activity should benefit.
You can't walk from Roosevelt Island to Manhattan, but you can walk to Roosevelt Island from Queens.
Yes,
that's
you
right.
can walk from that. I think the question, not about that, and it relates, and I did a show with the city planning people recently. It's great that we have transportation in certain hubs. If you try to get on the number 7 today at rush hour from 42nd Street or so on, it's like going to the...
It's not as bad as the L. It's not as bad as some of the trains in terms of traffic going from Manhattan.
Thank you.
To Brooklyn, to Williamsburg, and Bushwick.
And you're picking the wrong spot. You're talking about the middle of Manhattan.
But still,
Okay.
there's, you know, the Strap Hangers campaign, which is an annual campaign that comes out that ranks every subway line from 1 to however. The 7 train's been number 1 3 out of the last 4 years.
The frequency.
And that's basically the frequency. That's
is
what it is.
amazing.
So even if you're at 42nd Street and Grand Central at 5:30 p.m., which even if you're stuck, you can't get on, you're only waiting 2 minutes.
Right.
You
And
know,
you get another
Flushing is a mecca. A lot of things are taking place there. There's the Willits Point and the development, and also the Flushing development. You've done lending in Flushing. What's your thoughts of Flushing?
Well, Flushing is like the most dense part of Queens, and you go there at midday, and it's just, the retail is unbelievable. What they get per foot, you would never be able to come because it's these small spaces.
Plus, you've got vertical retail. It's one of the few places in New York City where you can actually have second floor and third floor retail that works.
What's
and
interesting,
medical is also a major.
What's interesting about Flushing, especially the ownership of the property, that Asian community who owns over there has this, they don't like renting. So the stores, even the restaurants and the medical offices, most of them are condominiums. So it works out over there. One of the big things that I've always poo-pooed a little bit about Long Island City, not personally on the business, is the number of hotels in Long Island City.
And your question?
I think there's 2,000 hotel rooms with another 4,000 or 5,000 hotel rooms planned.
Right. So my question is, you know, you're selling land. Are you seeing people building more hotels in Queens?
I'm selling something right now that's M-Zone up on 39th Avenue. Nice sized lot, 75 by 100, which would typically get the hotel guy's interest. Many factors are going into the, the reduction in land. Is A, from the hotel standpoint, there's so much product coming online, there's so many rooms coming online, there's so many existing, that's a concern. Also now there's talk of removing hotels and self-storage as of right from not just IBZ, from all M1 anything.
That's correct.
So
that's correct.
Special permit, I think.
Special permit.
And it sounds like it's more than talk. I think they're actually going to go ahead and
Right. It hasn't been done yet, but all my conversations with the well-versed hotel and self-storage guys say, I'm not touching this land right now. Not until there's more clarity and I know what's going on.
Which is good for the hotel business because
You're right. It'll reduce this mass number of new hotels that are opening. With regard to that, one of the problems that you have within the 5 boroughs for the residents of the city of New York is, when you take an apartment, you don't have enough room for your luggage, or many buildings have self-storage cabinets downstairs that you rent. What's your thoughts about the self-storage business in Queens? Because
it's great. The problem for the storage companies is because these IBZ zones, they can't just buy the properties that they would have converted. So there's a lack of supply, and there's a lot more demand, I guess, for storage.
you ever think of that type of business? It's another warehouse.
It's a specialized business. I think with all the residential that's coming in, you'll probably see increased demand for that type of space, but it's not something that we do.
You go up and down Northern Boulevard, starting from the eastern edge of Queens Plaza. You go up, you have every major self-storage company that you see, and they're still building now.
Another subject that came up recently about Queens is Northern Boulevard, the opportunities on Northern Boulevard. What's your thoughts about Northern Boulevard, Josh?
I'd like to own all those car dealerships because they're great future development sites.
We did something in Corona around there, and that seems like an up-and-coming good market. I don't know enough about it to...
Dan?
I think it depends where on Northern Boulevard. I mean, Northern Boulevard stretches the entire borough, basically.
Right, but I'm saying, Northern Boulevard, which is convenient to the trains, have a different value than Northern Boulevard.
But it's also Northern Boulevard whether you're south or you're north. Because if you're south towards the tracks, as you're heading east, that's all zoned industrial. That's where RXR's got their buildings and, a few other people. When you go across the street, you've got people like Michael Cohen who just did doing a residential thing on one of his car dealership lots, his used car lot. And you have other people that will be doing that over time. But remember, those same car dealerships need to have some degree of proximity to mass transit because the people who get their cars fixed, they need to be able to get to work.
Part of the city zoning plans are to reduce the amount of parking required in certain areas, which will help out. That's
a problem in Long Island City. Long Island City doesn't have a minimum parking requirement. It actually has a maximum. So at our property, we'd like to add parking, and there's only so much parking we can add per the zoning.
Let me put a different spin on it, Mike, and that is the people that are buying in the condos that we have done, even though we sell out the parking spaces, and there's not that many of them, the people are buying because they don't have to have a car. And this whole millennial group, in many respects, are so happy that they don't have to have cars. They can call up for a car, and get it. There's so many different services, forgetting about the Ubers, the Lyfts, and what have you, which is a whole nother, reason that people are reducing the number of cars that they have.
Long Island City tenants as well, Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, and so again, they can get to mass transit. There are alternative things. In 5 years, 5-6 years, I think you're going to begin to see driverless cars. And you're going to call it up. It's going to show up at your door. I've already been in cars that park themselves, in all kinds. It's amazing to watch.
Quick question, and I'm not allowing you to answer this question, because I want to pose it over here. In parts of Long Island City and parts of Queens, we are seeing co-working facilities opening up. We've seen it heavily in Manhattan. We've seen it limited number in Brooklyn, but there's more in Queens, and you may have even financed that.
I guess we're going to find out. WeWork's taking a big chunk in Tishman Spires.
No, I'm not talking about the WeWorks, because the WeWorks, as I always try to say, is like the 800-pound gorilla. I'm talking about the smaller operations over there. The Common, the Cohabs, and the other people like that.
Yeah, any growth market, entrepreneurial kind of tenant market, I think will benefit, and it's a place where pricing is increasing. So if you chop up the space enough,
Any thoughts about Willets Point? I did bring it up because Alan?
Not my area.
It's not far.
Not my area.
What about, speaking of Queens and the cultural idea, you've been involved with the cultural things
Mm-hmm.
for a long time.
I mean, it's Queens in many respects, whether it's, things from, Socrates Sculpture Park to Queens Museum to Museum
MoMA.
of the Moving Image. MoMA's not in Queens anymore.
MoMA PS1.
Storage. What's that?
MoMA PS1.
PS1.
Oh, PS1.
PS1
Yes.
MoMA.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. See, I only think of it, I'm sorry, I've been there so long, I only think of it as PS1. It's got a lot of culture. You've got the theater. And what's interesting about Queens residents don't necessarily want to do what I did as a kid. They don't want to go into Manhattan to go to their museums and what have you.
That's why I'm saying they want to live.
They want to
live and work
in
and
Queens.
stay in Queens.
That's correct.
I was going to ask you that question. Are your buyers buying in your building and they're going to work in the city or in Manhattan, or are they going to be working locally in?
Both.
It's interesting. Josh had told me recently that he had been in Regal Park and Forest Hills, and he had never seen Forest Hills. What Forest Hills Garden is,
Right,
it's
yeah.
a different community. And the fact that you have the railroad and you have the opportunities, property selling heavily over there?
In Forest Hills, it's not heavily transactional
No, it's not.
at all. I mean, Queens in general is not heavily transactional. Certainly from
More
from
today.
multifamily standpoint, more today. But you're gonna have something like 70 multifamily transactions a year in Queens.
So I think, in essence, in conclusion, I think everybody is bullish, including your favorite host over here, talking about Queens. I'd like to thank Alan, Todd, Dan, and Josh, and I'll see you next week.